like right in the middle of the restaurant in her soup.
Exactly.
Shit, are we live?
Yeah. Welcome, everyone. My name is Amos Joseph, joined by my co-host Brook Potter, who is in the UK, and this is the 10K Rum Podcast. How's it go, Brook?
I'm doing well, Amos. It's dark outside. Actually, we're starting to lose our summer weather.
Yep.
Yeah, that happens to you. There's a season out here in the UK coming closer to the Christmas season where we get like 3, maybe 4 hours of actual sunlight. It's a pretty shitty time to be around.
Really?
And yeah, it's dark until about 9-10, and then sun comes out for a couple hours, disappears around 2-3. And
I guess you're further north, so you get that really big shift in daylight and such.
Yeah.
Like here, the biggest shift, it gets, I think, like it gets dark by about just shy of 8 o'clock. And then it's obviously we got sunlight at about 7 or 8 in the morning, maybe. So it's like It shrinks down to just about 12, just under 12 hours of sunlight.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure during the summer it's a little longer. It's the same thing here. Our summer could get pretty long as well. Sun could be up 5, 4, sometimes 4 in the morning, be up at 10 kind of thing. We get like a couple hours a night. So it's interesting. Trinidad never had that. Trinidad had a pretty consistent, never more than maybe an hour in either way. So it's a new experience.
Right. Now, a couple things before we get into it. Now, everyone probably saw the title and the information and everything was showing that we were going to have a guest. Unfortunately, that was not able to. We weren't able to get that through. We had to reschedule due to some. You guys are seeing we're here a whole hour later than our usual time, so we had to kind of change things around a bit. But we will have Joshua Smith on. It's just we're rescheduling for the time being. Let's see here. Now, of course, since everyone is joining us, and we're in the earlier part of the show, I just want to let everyone know we do have a subscribe star. That is a subscribe star is a way that basically our listeners and viewers have the chance to be able to support us on a monthly basis. We have small tiers like $1, $5, and then our larger tiers are $10 and $25. Those basically are a monthly pledge that help out the show, help us to produce better content. Also just shows your support for the show. Each of those perks, each of those tiers, the 1, 5, 10, and 25, all have different perks that definitely are really good to look into. The $1 one gets you part of our Discord server. The $5 one allows you to view our Raw Takes video series, where we do like it's pretty much a 10 to 40 minute video, depending on how we feel, where we just talk about something that we just wouldn't talk about on a regular show. It's like a little bit more exclusive content. And then I believe the 10 and 25 allow for like shout outs or even participation in the show itself, where you get to ask us questions, like a more in-depth take that we can go into on the show, stuff like that. We're still working out the bigger ones just because we want to see where things go with the show before we like really give out like big stuff, because we do want to give out like some pretty cool stuff. You never know, maybe merch will be in the future. What do you think, Brooke? Oh,
definitely. I've got a couple slogans and artwork in mind to do some merch. Yeah, definitely something we're going to have to look into. I mean, our friends over at Hapa Supremacy, they've been doing some merch for a while, haven't they?
Yeah, it's pretty much right after they hit the 1,000 subscriber mark on their channel.
Right.
I never asked them their actual podcasting numbers, but I'm sure it's getting up there. But yeah,
sure we're ahead of them
on the podcast.
I'm sure we are.
I don't know. You never know. I mean,
we'll see.
You gotta, yeah. Not to get all competitive, but also another thing, everyone's probably noticed. So for the
listeners.
For the listeners, you wouldn't see this. For the viewers, you guys will see that I shaved my head. Granted, this was yesterday, and it's surprising how much hair can grow in a day when you have no hair, when you basically shave it down to nothing. I don't know if I'm going to try to maintain this. I just thought it was a kind of one-time thing to just do. It definitely like it's interesting how much your hair actually kind of like what it really does, because once you shave it all off, it kind of throws you off like physically. Wouldn't you agree, Brooke?
Really? I mean, I had a bald head for maybe 9 years of my life when I was much younger, from about 9 or something like that. Because I was Buddhist and I did that whole Zen Buddhist thing,
Oh boy.
and I had it through school. It was also to help with the acne because I had very bad acne as a kid. And I think somewhere along the way, somebody said, well, it's dirt that gets into your hair, lands on your face or something. It wasn't that. It was all hormones and stuff. And yeah, I mean, I liked it. In fact, as I was saying, my hair is receding. I'm thinning in the front more and more these days. Must be all, the steroids and the shit. So I'm probably gonna end up with that look pretty soon. If I had known, I would have shaved mine as well. We could have had, a bald-headed action going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it definitely seems like a good look. I'm just
I would
not
do it for
sure.
summer because we're coming into the cold right now. So I'm kind of a little hesitant to do it now because
Yeah.
I'm growing the
I
beard out for
wanted to do
winter.
one last one before we can move into it. What I was meaning though by the change, like what it feels like a lot of heat goes to your head, right?
Yes, it does.
So without that covering of hair,
You lose a lot of heat.
which can be a good thing, you stay cooler,
Yes.
but it also kind of throws you off. Like when you're in a room temperature room, you just feel like okay, so like right now I'm sitting here in my room talking to you on the show. It just I feel like you almost feel naked in a way.
Right.
Like, man, this is because it just feels a lot cooler now.
You feel exposed.
Yeah. I think that's why. I mean, maybe that's why the bald look with the beard is so good, because it kind of like you can't, instead of having all the hair on your head, you have all the hair on your face to
I
like
mean,
compensate.
what were you inspired by Jocko Willings and his whole thing on hair?
No, I didn't. I've never.
No, Jocko has this phrase. He says, hold on, I think I have it somewhere.
What, hairs for the
Right.
week?
Yeah, so you know him already. Jocko Willings is like hardcore Marine, right? So it goes like this. It's basically for show. That's what your hair is. It has no purpose other than I look good. So let's just go ahead and remove that. I don't care what I look like. I'm here to win. Jocko Willings. That's why they shave the head when you enter the army. Everybody looks the same kind of thing, So that's
Right.
his philosophy.
Well, I think
No,
at least
that wasn't your inspiration.
in the Marines for sure. I don't know in the Army. I think they do a close kind of
A buzz cut.
a buzz cut, not a full blown shave. I think in the Marines they'll do that though.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The higher level, I guess, the more difficult training, they'll like really try to, in a way, basically strip you of more and more of like. Maybe they do see. Maybe the Marines see it that way. Like hair is like a vanity thing. So,
it's kind of look at me kind of thing. So they just deal with it.
Yeah, Brian has a good point. I definitely need the anti-glare because you see the monitor right in my glasses. So if I'm like trying to check out porn or something, I definitely can't do that during the show. No, just kidding.
You gotta get like mine. Mine is the anti-blue light. So I have the reflection too, but it's blue. So it's not as much as yours in that respect.
Yeah, I don't see, because I can't make out what's on your thing. Whereas like, here
I can see.
You can
For those
see
those who are listening, Amos is pointing at his glasses that are basically reflecting his monitor into my face.
Exactly. But then I found actually I look very nowadays. So I've had my glasses since February.
Right.
And it's felt weird. Like every time if I'm on the stream and I take off my glasses and I look at like what I look like, I'm like, put those back on.
I mean, it doesn't matter necessarily what you think. It's what do other people think? Do they prefer you with the glasses or without?
From what I've been told, people do like the glasses look.
Yeah.
If you remember, not a university student, she liked it with the glasses. And I've started to notice the glasses kind of add a little something to it. So
yeah, even I went so I do counseling every other week. I go to a counselor and stuff like that just to kind of maintain my sanity. And she made that comment. She said, because for some reason I went with these glasses, these particular ones. I have two sets. And when I was in the session, she said, I don't know if it's the haircut or the glasses, but you look a lot younger. And I think there might be something to that, especially with hypergamy and stuff like that. People with glasses tend to be considered more intellectual, smarter, maybe making more money, banging more chicks, So there might be something to it, man.
Professionalism.
Yeah, it's you got a little status if you got a decent pair of glasses, So that might actually be a thing. We might have to check that out.
I mean, you look at
actually, these are really nice.
I mean, you look at even when you watch like Rule Zero.
I haven't seen a Rule Zero since the 21 Con episode.
Yeah. Well, they only did one since then. But I mean, you look at the panel, you look at like the guys that are at these events. A lot of guys. I mean, it's not like a majority or anything, but it's like you look at the former 21 conventions speakers from like last year and stuff. You look at how many of them wear glasses.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rich Cooper wears glasses. Rollo Tomassi wears glasses.
Yeah.
At one point, George Bruno wears glasses.
Yes. Yes.
Who else? And a couple other guys have worn glasses in certain contexts.
I mean, Modern Life Dating wears shades indoors. I guess that counts.
Yeah, I think he actually does. Like, I think he probably does wear glasses, like for certain things. Like, there's some guys that have glasses for just different things. Guys that wear them for when they're on the computer a lot, or they wear them for day to day. For me, I pretty much have to wear it anytime I'm out of the house.
Right. Okay.
Like at home, I can take them off. I wear them for the show just so I'm like everything's completely clear, because I take them off, like I can still see and everything, like everything in front of me. It just doesn't. It's not as I don't know what the word. There's still like, because I'm nearsighted.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that's even as far as just the monitor in my face, like it's just a little bit, but it's on that edge where it's like it could blur just a tiny bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting to that point as well, where I'm probably have to start wearing these more often. So I use it for the computer. So I think I'm farsighted. So I need it for things that are close by. So reading, computer work and stuff. But yeah, we really got to get like a fashion guy on to come and give the men some tips on how to dress, what to wear, glasses, how to shave their balls, all the manscaping type of things that are important to men.
me and my messiness. I'm trying to get this to grow, but it's like every time because they say you want to grow it out a bit, and then you don't want to just shave it all the time.
Right, yeah. So mine is due for a trim. It's not looking too bad. What do you think? The beard's all right?
Yeah, it looks good. But I mean,
Moses,
my messy patchiness, like you were saying, we pretty much are kind of the same on that, where like I gotta wait till my 30s before it starts to really fill in.
Probably. Yeah, mine, as people would know, or maybe don't know, mine was pretty patchy when I started out. It didn't really kind of full into something I could wear till my 30s, my early 30s, 31, 32. And then it was just a disaster. I just had it like long and mangy, and I didn't put cream. I didn't shampoo it. I didn't do shit, man. It's just like a dead rat hanging off my face. And, then it's like, okay.
Looking like a homeless man.
I was. Anybody who might have seen me back in my ministry days when I was traveling and stuff like that, it was pretty fucking bad. And then, even people be up like, so you're not going to shave your face? It's like, no.
Yeah, it did look a little. I'm just thinking back on that. Yeah.
It was disheveled.
I'm thinking back to 2012 when I first talked to you.
Yeah. I would have been 31, 32 around that time. It was pretty monstrous.
Were you that young? It's so weird.
Once upon a time.
it's just weird to think about, like,
yeah.
But then again, I was like 19.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't actually start like grooming my beard until I got to the UK. Because when I was in Trinidad, there was enough humidity that it could kind of handle itself. It would drop, but then I came to the dry, and it just fucking exploded. It was like that show, The Hangover 2, with the guy with the big beard. I can't remember what his character's name was.
Well, it's Galifianakis.
Yeah, Zach Galifianakis, right?
Yeah,
it was a lot like that. It was like that kind of crazy. And when I was staying with a gentleman in Ashford, Kent, and he had an epic beard. So I was like, oh yeah, bro, who's your guy? Like, hook me up. And it was a Jamaican guy who'd cut my hair, and he shaped it up and stuff. It looked fucking epic. And it's like, yeah, I gotta really start taking care of this a lot more. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I went to the salon, they took like the regular clippers.
Yeah.
Just took off the guard. I sat down and like, so what are we doing today? Just the normal? And I'm like, nope, all of it.
Take it
what?
off.
Like, what? I'm like, yeah, all of it. No guard, whole thing. And they're like, don't get mad if I start doing this. I'm like, no, I've done it before. Just do it. Okay.
You look good. You got a good bald head look.
So she starts going, and I mean, she just purposely started at the very top. So kind of the whole
down the middle. Every barber wants to do that. They all want to see the reverse mohawk look at least once.
Yeah. So she starts doing that, and then she started kind of doing a little. She gave me a little like a Friar's like halo just for fun.
Yeah.
Just to see what it looked like, and then so she gets it down, and that took like not even 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I look like what I look like now, but actually a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, can you get a little tighter? Like, do you have a way? She goes, well, I can't use like a blade or anything, like a straight edge razor.
Right.
She's like, that's only barbers are allowed to do that.
Yeah, technically.
I'm like, oh, there's a separate certification for being a barber. She goes, yeah, there's like extra training that barbers go through. And then the other stylists are like, yeah, it's more catered to men. And I'm sitting here like,
bitch, I am a man.
well, no, if I hear like a woman saying, oh, it's more catered to men, I'm like, get some feminists in here. Like, I sense a disturbance in the force. No, and then they said, yeah, barbers, they learn to like for shaving, for more like basically higher level things, I guess.
Grooming and stuff.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting to know. Like, to be a barber is actually another level of certification.
I mean, I think it's still pretty shit that you have to do that as a barber. I mean, imagine that how you can tell whether a barber is good or not is not whether you check the certifications, whether he gives you a good haircut or not. Right. The market will tell you pretty quick who's a good barber and who's a good hairdresser or whatever. The fact that the state is actually now issuing licenses for this shit, I think this is just retarded. Well, yeah,
that's a whole nother thing. Did you ever see? So you remember we went to the Mall of America when you came here? We got our haircuts and stuff there. Did you see that barber shop that was there? Not the place we went to.
I don't
know if it's still there, but there's there used to be a place. Like I said, I don't remember if it's there. You walk by and it's this like the place is like almost like a giant cylinder,
right?
But you walk by and there's like an open area of glass where you can look in, and it's like an old style barber shop.
Cool.
And you can watch people get in there just getting a shave or something. And you're like, oh,
cool.
It's not not that you want to stare, but you can kind of just see like how it's like a high class kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, it is kind of a posh. People don't do that anymore. Everybody shaves at home. To see somebody do it well is actually it's an art form.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the bigger airports, they have that in there. So I think Heathrow, it's usually a shoe polish guy and a barber. And
who gets their shoe shined at an airport anymore, though?
Some people do. Some people,
I know there's people that do, but it's like, man, like,
I mean, it's a dying art form, to be very honest. I completely agree. But, if you got a little stall in the airport, you've probably been doing it for 30, 40, 50 years. That's gonna be hard to die out, you know.
Watch someone write an article about how it's racist, because believe it or not, most of them are black guys that are doing that.
A lot of them are black guys that are doing that. Well, I mean, I can't say a lot. I've only seen two.
I've seen probably. I mean, I've seen a few, and it's always where you hear about it. It's always like black guy.
yeah. It's rough. It's rough.
But no. So then they got in tighter, and they pulled out this thing. I guess they almost never use it. They say, "Oh, there's this tool they use for doing like fades and stuff." It basically looked like a big electric razor.
Okay.
And it just ran across my head. And that took like 15, 20 minutes. Like the initial buzz was just, oh yeah, just gonna, take off all your hair. And then the next like 15 minutes is just kind of
taking it down.
Taking just little by little. I mean, she almost left like a little circle up here because she just worked her way up.
Right.
Left almost, for the listeners, almost left a little circle on my head of just hair, and I was like, it's kind of funny, but I was like, no, just take it all off.
Right,
but
right.
Then it got down to the scalp, which we found out was I've got a lot of dry skin apparently. So washed it when I got home, and then they gave me some like tea tree oil to put on there to like help moisturize, and yeah, fun stuff.
It's a weird thing, the dry skin. So I found that, so everybody thinks you just need to drink more water and be more moisturized. But I found like if I eat more animal fat, so like I feel it on my lips, for instance. If I go out in the cold, my lips tend to get very dry. Mm-hmm. And I used to have, the usual, the lip balm and all that kind of good stuff. And I would drink a ton of water. I'm like always, there's this little trick that you do with your finger. Right. So you put your index finger straight out and then you pinch the skin right by the joint. And if it stays up, like when you pinch it, if it stays, the skin doesn't actually go back down very, reasonably in a good time, you're dehydrated. That's the tell. So I'm pretty good at that. Like when I do it now, it's going down. I'm a little dehydrated at the moment, but I stay very hydrated. I still had this problem. And I found that animal fat and fat in general. So I eat a lot of butter, steaks, bacon, and that moisturizes me a hell of a lot more than the water.
Yeah, I think. Well, you think about like what is it that actually moisturizes skin? It's not water; it's oil.
Exactly.
So, while water is definitely good, you definitely need like the fat part of it. You're not putting water on your skin to moisturize it. You're putting on usually, I mean, if you're putting on like lotion, that's not the best, but people that put on like, I've heard like people just straight up say, yeah, freaking, extra virgin olive oil on your skin.
Right.
I mean, with this stuff, it's tea tree oil. And she looked at the ingredients. She showed me, yeah, there's not a lot of alcohols in here. Usually when you get to like, regular, brand name kind of just lotions you buy.
Yeah.
It's just alcohols, and it's actually doing more to like the overall effect is actually drying you.
Yeah.
Well, but it gives the appearance of moisturizing.
Yes.
The way it was described to me was it basically pulls moisture from under your skin.
Right.
It's not actually applying moisture into your skin.
Yeah. And then you have to read the packaging very closely. So some of them say it feels moisturized. It actually doesn't moisturize. It just feels moisturized. Yeah. So you got to watch all this marketing, heebie-jeebie shit that they're doing out there.
Yeah. So she when she gave me that, she even looked it over again. Yeah, this stuff's good. Is
it going to fuck with your testosterone? Are you going to have to like supplement this with some Tren?
Oh shit! I never thought of that. I mean, at my age, testosterone is not as big of a deal yet.
Have you tested that? Have you done any tests on that yet? Okay.
I mean, I'm 20. I'm about to be 27.
Yeah, you should be in a good range.
I should be good till like I'm your age.
I mean, yeah, I'm on the lower end of the scale, and they're boosting it at the moment. I'm still within range, but we're going to try and raise it a little bit. You're usually good until your 40s, and then you jump on TRT and get jacked and hulky. Or you could do it before, do some Tren and
see. But if I get on any of that, if I get on TRT now, there's the risk of becoming infertile.
Yes, that is a potential risk, and losing your hair permanently.
Yeah, which might not be a bad thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. Go to
no, but seriously, is it going to affect your testosterone? You got to check those things.
I I'll check it
Yeah,
at some
yeah,
point.
it's good to know. Now is the time to like plug, the soap or something that is all over the red pill that doesn't screw up your testosterone.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not going to sponsor us just yet.
Yeah, we're not anywhere near there. But
Jesus, freaking everyone has Tactical Soap as their sponsor.
Yeah, well, anyone associated with kind of masculinity and manliness and stuff like
but
that.
But it's like, who's going to buy the soap from who? I first bought the soap from Rich. So what am I going to do? Buy some from Rich, buy some from,
That's Richard Cooper, for those who don't know.
Yeah, buy some from Richard Cooper, buy some from Rollo Tomasi. Well, I don't think he sells it, but it's like all these guys
who Sharp and
they all have their individual shows, and they have collaborative shows they do, which are also sponsored by Tactical Soap. So
yeah.
Correct, who the hell do you buy it from? Like
whoever you want, man. This is like, I would love to get it, but I can't get it. In the UK, it would cost me a fucking fortune to ship that out here.
The only way it'd be worth it for you is if like I bought a ton here and then I went to visit you and dropped them off.
Exactly. So if we're doing the trip next year, we could consider that. I don't mind getting maybe like a 6-pack or a 9-pack or something, if you have it space for it, and I'll just give it away kind of thing.
All that space. Yeah, they're gonna look at me like, "What do you got all this soap in here for?"
I mean, that's the same problem I have with Steel Supplements Hard AF. For those who don't know, that's
you can't ship that to you.
No, I can't go onto the Steel Supplement website and buy that and ship it to the UK. Now, I did find a way around it on eBay, but I'm paying a lot more for it. Somebody obviously has a stack,
and they're marking it up. And
I gotta pay through the nose. So
I mean, it's definitely like a good idea for them at least to like make a little money off of it. I mean,
I don't knock capitalists, man. I am one, so I get it. It's a black market out here.
Is it like
I just hope it actually is hot AF.
Is it a banned substance?
I think it is. I think there are certain substances, because of our overlords, the EU. A lot of supplements, some of the stimulants and other things are not permitted in the local market. So a lot of the stacks and stuff like that it's not steroids, but it's pretty close. It's andros. Can't get that over here. Some of the proteins and stuff like that, the protein powders and stuff like that, can't get that over here. The shredded AF, I think I might be able to get shredded, but I can't get something else. So yeah, it's really dicey, and they do have a supplier in the UK, and they still can't get this stuff. So it's pretty shit, man. It's pretty shit.
I mean, do they just like not want anything that like helps men be more manly?
I mean, there is that theory that, which is why I brought up the testosterone thing. There is this theory that's been circulating, especially amongst men out here in the UK, because men out here in the UK are fucking weak. Like, my God, if you want to talk about the pussification of a generation, I'm fucking living it, right? I'm not by no means the most alpha guy out here. I got work to do. I'm still overweight. I'm working on it. I'm a lot better than where I was. Mm-hmm. But even beyond the physical appearance, and a lot of these guys are a lot taller than me. But even beyond just the presence, right? The ability to maintain space and command attention, they don't got that. Like a lot of men out here just do not have that. And I'm pretty convinced it's because of a lowering of overall testosterone. And some people believe that there's a conspiracy, or they're putting shit in the water. They're trying to, pussify men and, turn the frogs gay and all that good stuff. I don't know. But there are a lot of weak men. Like I shared a story with you that is in our hot takes about a weekend when I went out, and I met this girl. I met this girl, and then the next night I met her again. She's got a guy, and she was just so enthralled with me like she just didn't care that she had a boyfriend and stuff. Like she was just like fixated.
Yeah, let's leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm not going to go anything. And she's actually contacted me since, but that's a whole other story. And another place I saw this now, when I was not in the shape that I'm in now, I'm doing better. This is probably the best shape I've been in quite a while. I remember being in Sweden. This is like a Christian mission trip, and you could talk to our friends in the north about this. No, it wasn't Sweden. It was Norway. It was Norway. Sorry. And this very tall, very beautiful Norwegian girl, same thing. She was taller than me, all of this kind of stuff. And she was just like, she was following me around like a puppy.
Was this that very recent one?
I don't know if I've only been in Norway once. So it's the same trip with
the one trip.
The one trip. So yeah.
Where you went out in the middle of nowhere kind of thing.
Went out into, yeah, we did that. That was part of it, sort of thing. Yeah, there was this one girl there, and everybody was just kind of noticing. Like I would sit down, she'd come sit down like right next to me. You know, I'd go somewhere, she'd just kind of hang around that area. it was, and so granted, I didn't have the physique, right? But I can command a presence. I have, you know, body language, I have tonality and all this kind of stuff. And that shit's missing, man. That is missing big time, you know?
Yeah, and I've told you, like, the little bit that I have that I've, like, you know, played around with, that I've noticed, you know, ever since learning of the red pill and stuff. Definitely it's been different. I mean, you know, definitely need to go out more to like play around with it, but yeah, it's amazing what you know, here in the States, what women don't see. You know, people have told, you know, yeah. I mean, you know that I probably get a little too much into the body language thing, but
yeah.
Sometimes it's just screaming out there. Like I'm just sitting here looking through Facebook and people are posting all sorts of pictures. And I'm just like, it's not even, you know, I'll show you something, but like, there's so much more out there that I'm just scrolling away. I'm like,
yeah,
wow. Everyone. And it's, you know, it's not like, you know, a little bit here, a little bit there. It's just like, you know, guys laying in girls' laps, guys kind of doing the whole, like, there's always the picture of like the girl getting the kiss when she's the one looking in the camera.
Yeah.
I even saw one where it was like guy behind a girl in like a wedding photo.
Right.
And I'm like, oh.
I mean, I actually like that position. That's a very comfortable position to like grab a woman from behind. So I do that like if she's doing the dishes.
But it wasn't, but it was like, the way it was positioned,
yeah,
it was almost he was kind of reaching to her, like,
okay,
like trying to like.
No, I mean, if you're gripping the woman in the front and you have like the wolf eye from on top, I think that's a pretty dominant,
right.
Come and take her, bitch. You know, like.
Right, but she was a you know, not she was a bigger woman, not fat, but bigger, okay. And he's this little like skinnier guy, and I'm like,
one of those.
So it's like she's in front of him. Ball. Yeah, she's in front of him, and so her wedding dress is just like dominating the photo, and there's just a little him back there, and I'm like, oh god, this is just, you know.
Brian says you've seen that picture; it's made it onto social media, so I haven't seen that. If you find it, man, send it to me. I'll take a look.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, the shit you see out there is crazy. I mean,
yeah, it's pretty weak. It's pretty,
and even like the stuff people write. Like I have no problem, you know, you want to say you love your wife and, you know, you want to do like I love you, but like when it's just when you're starting to put out messages and comments that's all emojis.
Right.
And just, you know, love you, kiss emoji, and it's everywhere, and it's just you're basically the comments and messages and posts are looking no different than your wife's.
Right.
Yeah, no. Like I don't, yeah, if I go put out there, you know, I love my wife, you know, and I post a picture of us, that's one thing. But it's like just, you know, oh, I love my wife, you know, just it's all this stuff. It's like,
yeah,
you know.
It's kind of lovey-dovey. I mean, I listened again. Jocko Willink did a letter to his daughter about his wife because his daughter was kind of disrespecting his wife on something and stuff like that. And he kind of laid out and that man is, he's not the only alpha. He's like alpha plus, kind of shit. He's gonna break through the fucking wall kind of thing, right?
Wait. His daughter was disrespecting
his wife. So he wrote a letter to his daughter about
biological mother, right?
Yes.
Oh, I'm just the way you've worded it. I'm like, so the wife is not the actual mom? Like,
no. Well, right. So he's speaking about his wife, and he laid out like everything that his wife has had to put up with, everything that they went through, and how good of a mom she was, and all this kind of stuff. And at the end of it, and I was actually meant to send it to you to get your feedback on it. He said, this is the woman I love and I worship her. And I'm like, whoa, Jocko, man, that's some high level stuff right there, bro. And I was, it actually kind of really screwed me up. I'm like, that is so out of character to Jocko Willink. I mean, Jocko Willink is like fucking testosterone personified kind of thing. And then at the same time, of course, all the Red Man group and everybody else was doing that whole series about woman worship and all that kind of stuff. And I was actually very surprised when he used that language. But yeah, that was a shocker, man.
We talked about Jordan Peterson.
Did we touch on that? I can't remember.
We chatted.
Oh, you and I talked about it. Yeah,
you
but we
and
didn't
I
get
talked
into
about
it on
it.
the show. Yeah.
So for everyone who listeners and viewers, if you guys have caught up with keeping up with the news and stuff, Jordan Peterson just recently checked himself into a New York rehab center.
Yeah.
So his wife of 30 some years or something,
30 plus years,
30 plus years, basically had to go through some surgery because of cancer. She's fine, she's going to be recovering, but because of how much stress is really put on him, he had to take some anti-anxiety stuff, some pills. I forgot what it was called, but all these crazy names that they have. Took too much of it, and now he's trying to get off of it. And basically, he's found, and he's admitted himself into a rehab center to basically deal with this. He's, it's really fucked with him. So I heard, I kind of looked into some I saw this through like a lot of guys who are like in the red pill and stuff, and a lot of the wording was surrounding one-itis and oh, he's so into her, because removing this whole incident, removing the fact that his wife got sick, had surgery and all this, Jordan Peterson and his wife had it, the whole way he talks about his wife and all this, it is a classic case of one-itis though.
Sure.
Like, the whole, he's been in love with her since he was like 8.
Yeah.
And she's been the only one the whole time.
Sure.
I can see that.
I agree. Go ahead.
But now you add in 30 years of marriage. She got really sick. I mean, she almost died, that whole thing. Yeah. And he gets on drugs and all this. And I just think that's just, when it comes down to it, it's like, granted, he did what he did, and he got on, pills that probably that were not the best for him. And he just, because he couldn't handle, whatever way, he just couldn't handle like dealing with what shit going on. I mean, you can't really fault a guy for that, even from a red pill stance, I'd say.
I agree.
I mean, you and I talked about this, and you're like, maybe he just loves his wife. Like,
yeah, there's nothing wrong with loving your wife, man. Like, why is that such a bad thing?
Oh no, it's not that there's anything wrong. I think they think like, oh, he let himself go so far, to then fuck himself up, like, oh, one-itis. And it's like, but when I look at the red pill, and this is, I sure hope this doesn't make me like some purple pill guy, but it's like, yes, I can totally agree with all the guys' assessments on like marriage.
Yes. But
just because you are, I don't think there's, I mean, unless it's like you're completely cucked in your marriage, like, you get married, and how many guys in a red pill are really been married that long?
I don't know. Not that many, I suspect.
I mean, I would, from what I've seen, most of the red pills, a lot of divorced or just
Yes.
young single guys.
Yes.
And among the, I'm not shitting on them or anything or saying, whatever, but it's like, how many like red pill men have really maintained a long relationship? Like, when you're married that long,
Yeah.
you
30
know,
plus years or
or
whatever.
even 20 some plus years, like whatever they want to call it, ego investment or whatever it is, or like
Yeah.
emotional investment. When that, because you have all that, you can't tell me that like your wife almost dying is not going to affect you in some pretty deep way.
I agree.
Now, definitely, don't like just, I'm not saying that's just, excuse for like some guy to like, go off and go crazy.
No, yeah. I mean, don't
And
kill yourself or do some shit because of that sort of thing.
but I guess the harshness of the red pill towards the whole Jordan Peterson thing. Granted, I will agree with like a lot of other assessments. Yeah, the one-itis, the way he talks about women, like the whole assessment that 12 rules for life is an incomplete work. Like, he gets
Sure.
guys to question a lot of things, but he doesn't kind of go that next mile to like really understand female nature. I'll agree with all that, but then the way he handles his marriage, the way he's like dealing with all this, I mean, the guy at least is a big enough man to like admit himself into rehab.
No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, dude went to drugs. Dude, didn't handle it probably the best way he could, but I mean, he did what he did. Um,
I mean, this is the history with him. He has had a history of depression in the past, right?
yeah,
So
his specific condition and his whole family has just been like, from what I can see and just what I've read up on, it's not like, it's a very unique case of like genuine like genetic problems.
correct. I mean, we know Michaela Peterson has the eating issues. I mean, at a very young age, she was arthritic and she had like both of her hips been replaced. So
Yeah, joint
then,
replacements before you're 20.
yeah,
Like,
I mean, so you got all of that you're dealing with. Plus, now your wife is dealing with this, and he's under so much scrutiny and attacks from the left. And I mean, you cannot look at that and try to compare that to any other normal relationship that's out there.
I mean, so you look at like the married men in the manosphere.
Yeah, the rational men, as it's now trying to be called.
You can't tell me. Well, I mean, you probably could. I mean, no one really would know. Like, and I don't want. I'm not. I'm just. This is an example.
Yeah.
Rollo Tomasi being married to his wife for 20 some years. If anything happens to her, not
Mhm.
God forbid anything does, but if
Yeah.
anything did, you can't tell me he's just gonna like, well,
Just
well,
continue his mission. Like, I was sorry, babes, I got a podcast to do. Come on, no, fucking no. He would be there and he would support her.
I think there was even something about how like he had to like deal with his mother or something. His mother was sick.
Okay, I don't know much about that story.
I don't even I think, but I mean there've been situations. I think I've heard of these guys. I think there was something, I had to be like a podcast he did or something where he like had to step away because like his mom was sick or so. I don't even remember.
Right.
Um but basically he had to take care of his mom.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Oh, but that's a woman, and it's your mom, and it's like, yeah, but
I
I
mean,
mean,
people are very much misunderstanding what the red pill is all about. And they're taking it to a place that I definitely don't agree with, which is this, very selfish. It's all about me, and you got to be rational, and emotions don't matter, sort of thing.
like, and that's the thing is like when you talk to like these super, even when you remember the Andrew Tate interview
Yeah,
with Rolo, excuse me, he even said, "Yeah, I totally believe you can fall in love and get married and have kids."
yeah, yeah. I mean,
But
and,
it's
and
just,
I've seen that argument come up so many times in a lot of these podcasts. The issue about getting married, and none of them have given an answer. Right. So, like I said, the Andrew Tate one, there was another call in on Before the Train Wreck. All of these guys are stumped. And they're just, well, just pursue the best version of yourself. And, they're just repeating these taglines. They have no answer for men who actually want to become husbands and fathers.
Now, I will say there are guys that I know in the red pill that are married, sort of like awakened while married and stuff. And it is a lot to work through. To basically work out, like, because they understand, like, divorce is hell, the divorce machine, but then they're dealing with, like, within the constraints of, like, being married and all this. You can look at marriage as, I should let me look at I should say that so in Rule 0 they talked about like the declining rates of marriage,
right?
And then afterwards, excuse me, so Modern Life Dating, he did a show about he's doing like an after party show now. He called it Dude Party.
Dude Party, yeah. So I saw that come up. I haven't watched it yet, but.
So I watched a few minutes of it, and beginning on, he's talking to Troy Francis, one of the newer guys as part of the group.
He's a dating coach.
Yeah, and he also asked Ryan Stone, like, do you guys get a lot of guys that are even considering marriage?
Yeah,
like, really talking about it, like, I want to get married. They said no, not a lot. And usually the guys who are kind of in a purple pill mindset. They're like, they want that, and they want to learn red pill, but they also, like, really still want to get married. And it's like, I'm not saying that's a failure of, like, the red pill or, like, the community. I just think
it's a shortcoming. It's not something that they can fully address.
Like, and I see why they don't, though. I can see why they don't.
Sure.
Because it has a lot of problems. Like,
completely agree. And I mean, there are rules to red pill marriage. Especially if it's a man of the world and he meets a foreign girl or whatever. Those are like, that's better. Meet a girl from Poland or like Eastern Europe or Asia, you probably stand a better chance.
Places with more traditional values.
You move there, you do not bring her back to the motherland, because then her head is going to be infected with the brain syphilis that's out here, and she's going to get ideas in her head like she's entitled to half. So, I mean, there's certain rules that you kind of stack the deck in your favor. In fact, me and Sulan had quite an argument recently, and she basically accused me of being angry at women and bitter and all this kind of stuff, because I'm trying, in a life partner, I'm trying to stack the deck in favor of it actually working, which means there's certain criteria I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do the single moms, for instance. I'm not going to do porn stars or, and of course, all of these things for
social media personalities
with big followings that aren't selling a product, all of these different types of things are just, I'm not saying they're insurmountable, but for me, if I have the choice, I'd rather not deal in those areas. And of course, for her, she thinks I'm limiting my perspective, right? I'm narrowing the window too much. And I say, why am I narrowing it too much? Because I don't want to raise another man's kids, right? It's like,
yeah. And then you look at her and you go, Viking.
Yeah. And she wants a fucking Viking lumberjack, 6 foot, with all this other stuff. Never mind, she's a single mom. But you see, that's what I'm saying. So when I say that, look, Sulan, you are not what I'm looking for, she gets a little upset. Not because of me personally, not that she's attracted to me or anything, but she doesn't like the idea that there are men out there that she does not appeal to. She has not reached the epiphany stage as yet.
How old is she? She's your age.
Yeah, she's close to my age. So I don't want to give away how old she is. So, but
she's way past the epiphany stage.
She hasn't reached the epiphany stage, not as yet. And
I mean, she's way past where it typically happens.
Totally not. She's completely oblivious to it. And I keep having these circular conversations with her, and it's not going anywhere. So I'm done. I'm not having any more conversations with her.
I'm telling you, man, it's the tits. It's got to be the tits.
Well, this is it. This is it. She's got a massive rack, and with a massive rack, you get a lot of male attention. But what she has not quite pieced together is all the male attention she's getting hasn't worked out for her. Something's wrong, right?
You get it. It gets her in the door, but
Yes,
she doesn't get to stay.
Exactly. So she hasn't gotten to that point yet. Anyway, I don't want to give too much away on that respect, but back to the issue with the red pill. I'll share something kind of intimate. My dad had Parkinson's, and I was there. He divorced my mom when I was he left my mom when I was 12. I think they divorced when I was about 15, 16. He remarried this lady, and who was a friend of the family. So it kind of cut like a knife a little bit because we knew who this woman was. And anyway, they got married, they moved into a place, they lived together, and my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And for all the stuff that my dad had put me through, and even my stepmother to a certain extent, that woman took care of my father better than anyone I'd ever seen. And I will even say she would have taken better care of my dad than my own biological mother would have done. Nobody took care of him like she did. And I mean, she was just on point, there all the time. Eventually, he moved out of the house and they put him in a care facility. She was there every day. She was washing him and cleaning him and feeding him and, just everything you could have asked. And the few times like she had to get away to take care of business, she would call me and ask me to stay with my dad. She was exceptional in caring for him when he could literally do nothing. And I look at that and, everybody's like, oh yeah, female nature, female. No, sometimes you just love the person and you're willing to sacrifice some of yourself for that person.
I had the same thing. I should say I saw the same thing with my mom and dad.
Right. I didn't want to put that on you.
Well, I figured we might as well. I mean, both of us might as well share this. So, I don't think I ever mentioned on the show, so my dad passed away back in 2013. He was sick for like 10 plus years. That's a big part of why I even got into ministry and all that. But basically, so I think it was 2013. It was 2013. That summer when you and I went to the conference, we were there, and then I told you guys all about he was in the hospital.
Yeah.
He was having some condition. Anyways, he came home and everything was fine. Somehow, I guess at that point, that was August. Yeah, late August, we went to that conference. I guess they kind of had the feeling that something was going to happen. My dad was kind of on his way out, so to speak, even though he seemed fine.
Yeah.
So then they started prescribing him all sorts of meds and stuff, which really led to a mental decline for him, that he kind of just stopped fighting. The big reason my dad passed away was not because of the physical symptoms kicked in. It was more of a mental thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he'd been fighting and fighting and fighting, and then he mentally just gave up, just stopped because of the drugs fucking with his head.
Yeah.
And he just stopped, and then he was done. But the fact is, looking back in a more of a, if you want to look back at it a red pill lens, at how my mom was throughout the whole time he was sick.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, yeah, I know I probably granted he's someone that I cared about, so I probably am looking at through a different kind of lens. I'm kind of,
sure,
he's a little larger than life.
Yeah.
But I see my dad as as someone who, now looking back, is someone who had alpha characteristics.
Yes. Yeah.
He was sick, physically incapable of a lot of things. But still my mother looked up to him.
Yeah.
And was still not submissive. I don't use that term with them, but it's there was definitely he was still the man of the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, I mean, he had, a lot of his sense of humor and a lot of things like that was all kind of played into that. So as he's as the day he died, so the people come from the funeral home to pick him up, and so they're wrapping him up, about to take him, and then like just before they like take him away for good, like my mom said, "Can I say something? I just want to say something." So she says this whole thing in Chinese, basically about how like she loves him, absolutely loves him, and she'll never forget. But it was like for some reason the way, because of my understanding in Chinese, when I hear it in Chinese, it's almost like a deeper meaning than like speaking in English.
Sure.
So the thing she was saying and what she was saying was like, that's a lot more than your female nature, your hypergamy, your whatever. That's more than that.
Yeah.
That's beyond that. That's
Hot.
right. And then of course now that it's been years after he's passed and all this, there's sign. I'm not going to get into too many details on, but basically there's a lot that basically tells me like a lot of this stuff is not always going to apply. A lot of this red pill stuff is not always going to apply to just, my mom, granted there's things, I have conversations with my mom about masculinity and it just kind of, she doesn't really get into it. Yeah. Okay. Female nature, throw it into that basket. But there's a lot of things of what the impact that my dad left on her, whether you want to call it alpha widow. I mean, she literally is,
Yeah.
And that she still like talks about him. She still thinks about him in a way that that's not just your typical like that doesn't quite line up to all the mental framework of the red pill. Granted, anecdotal, all that, you can say all that, but
it's a life experience.
It's something true. Yeah, it's something that you want, but the red pill says it's just going to take it's going to take a lot of work to get to that point.
Yeah. I think
either you're lucky or you worked really hard to find something like that.
True. And I think maybe in some respects, I don't know how much our dad knew, our fathers knew about, doing the hard work. Maybe they just lucked out, maybe that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, you have like, they both, I know my dad had characteristics that made him alpha. Was he necessarily red pilled or anything? No.
Yeah, but I don't think they had the for want of a better word, theology to go with it, right?
Right, but I mean, it was, something it played out a certain way, and it's like I kind of look at that, and I look at the way my mom was, and it's like that's something I think really that, and then I look across the landscape of the red pill, and it's like you don't find that often.
No, you don't. So I understand why they don't promote that, because they don't want men to hope. Every man is going to hope and expect a unicorn at the end of the day, right? So I understand why they try to shut that down,
right?
And there's no way that I could ever raise this point with any of them and have an actual discussion, because they can't. It goes against everything. I mean, even Richard Cooper, I'm watching some of his stuff. I kind of think that he should roll back on the TRT a bit. I find he's getting very snappy at some of his comments and stuff. He's just like, he has no tolerance for anything outside this framework at all. In fact, I was watching one of his podcasts with Sean Smith, and he kind of snapped at him, right, when the guy was a little concerned about getting old and ending up alone. And Rich just kind of quickly dismissed it. Oh, you mean the old man fallacy, the myth of the old man kind of thing? And Sean was like, what's that? Like, that's actually a genuine concern. Like, men can be concerned about ending up alone. That's not just a myth, But seeing the interaction between the two of them, it was very intense.
Well, it's not even like it's just an existential dread for like the fact that you're gonna be old and die and I'll be alone. Sure. Like that's not just a man thing. That's like even women. I mean, women, deal with it through cats. Men deal with it through being alone. Like,
yeah, no, exactly. And I mean, my grandfather ended up alone. I have a lot of family that ended up alone. Even my uncle, who's out in Wales, he married 3 times, lots of kids. He's kind of on his own. But so I get that. But to watch Rich kind of snap at Sean over that issue, right? He just kind of dismissed it. Oh, the old man, ended up as the old man fallacy. And just, Right. I understand what you're saying. Yes, it is a myth. More than likely, we're all going to die in a hospital bed from, I don't know, heart attack, cancer, whatever, whatever the fuck kills us, right? We're not all going to live to our hundreds surrounded by our children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren with loving kumbaya music as, the pearly gates open and we drift off.
And all the concubines we had.
Yeah. All right. I get that. We're not all going to have that perfect ending. Granted. Fine. But it doesn't mean that men aren't concerned about the prospect of ending up alone, right? Even before you might get to whatever your departure date is. Even if you're in your 50s or 60s or whatever the case is, there's a reason that male suicide between, 30 to like 45, 50 is so prevalent. It's because these men, usually going through the divorce machine, are ending up alone. And they can't bear it. They can't bear the thought of all of that. So that's a real dread. So to dismiss that by just saying, oh, well, that's the old man fallacy. I was kind of like, maybe he should hold back on the trend a little bit. I think he's kind of going over the edge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why you do see, that's what I like about the red pill is like, you do have your range of like the more kind of, you have guys like Rich Cooper, but then you also have guys like Rollo Tomasi and Ryan Stone.
Yeah.
They kind of like, Ryan would actually understand like, you got your red pill, you got your alpha, but you got to throw in just a little beta to like keep the comfort levels.
Yeah, of course. Nobody alpha all the time,
And even if you're like, but you also got to be careful. You're not like, I think it has to do with like just how masses work, just how people work.
Oh yeah. I get why they do it.
You gotta keep up a certain thing so that if there is a little bit of that slip up, it's minimized.
Exactly. I get that.
But then if you're gonna preach like the whole like, yeah, you got your alpha, but a little blue pill, a little bit of beta in there to like, obviously to keep like comfort levels, to keep a woman happy, like so she's not just you're not gonna club over her head like a caveman. If you stay with that, then there's I guess a little the fear is then the entire group is gonna like fall back enough that now you have a lot of purple pill going on.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't have a successful relationship without a positive attitude towards the person and the relationship.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what, that they don't express that. They don't express like, look, if you find somebody, you're working on your mission, she's working on your mission, she complements your life. But it's still kind of all about you kind of thing. And eventually you'll come together and stuff like that.
And that's the difference is they think, oh, it's all about you. There's selfishness, but I think red pill needs to like get back to understanding like what does mental point of origin really mean?
Yeah, sometimes being your mental point of origin means being a good husband. It's wearing a new hat that is called good husband or good father. And
now it's not like a placating, happy wife, happy life husband, but it's like, it becomes part of your mission and your identity. And those are protectorate, loving unconditionally towards your kids and stuff like. And there is it sounds all blue pill. It's all emotional. It's the protector, provider, and all these other things. That's the role of the father. That is the role of the dad, right? Or the husband in many cases. So I wouldn't bash that. Like, why would you, if men want to adopt that as part of their new identity, don't knock it, And that's where the disconnect comes. I mean, I'm not there yet. Maybe I may not. I think the fear becomes, the fear of the purple pill is.
Yeah, I get that. Because everybody wants if you give them an inch, they'll take a mile kind of thing. So if you give a crack in the opening, everybody's just going to run through, right? Like a crack in the barn door, all the horses run out. So I totally get and understand that premise.
Yeah.
But I think in reality, it's kind of why I've stopped listening to a lot of it. It's like a lot of it. It's actually not a very good mindset for me to hear that a lot. Right. I understand the tenets. And I mean, yeah, I get it. And yes, I understand female nature. For me right now, I'm trying to apply it. I'm trying to apply it more in my life. I'm working on my business. I'm hitting the gym. I'm studying, the arts of seduction, and I'm trying to be a better man in a lot of those respects. I'm out meeting women, doing all this stuff.
Up in the trend.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's I don't, but all of this constant bashing and stuff like that, a lot of that's going on. Even Carl, I love Carl. He's very funny, but his sarcastic humor is always kind of poking fun at people and, almost kind of putting them down a little bit and stuff. And it's like, all right, okay. I don't need that right now. I'm working on me. And I seem to have, I don't know if it's a gift or whatever, anything I want, any kind of woman I want, she comes. I find that woman, right? Whatever I need at that time, that woman shows up and she's like, great. So if there is going to be some kind of wife or stuff like that, she's just going to show up. I just know what it is, right? So I'm not really worried in that respect,
Blue pill.
I know it sounds really blue pill, but the best evidence of that, and it is the craziest thing. I was in Trinidad in my kitchen, and I basically said I wanted to meet a blonde Russian with daddy issues, right? There's no fucking Russians in Trinidad. How the fuck am I going to meet a Russian in Trinidad? There's no fucking way that's going to happen, right? And this would be putting it to the test, actually. And lo and behold, on this dating site called Mismatch, which is a travel thing, right? You basically take women on trips kind of thing. That's how I met my Russian, right? And she was, hot blonde, whatever. We start talking and she wants to do a trip to Portugal. Well, I was moving to England. I said, well, I'll do that, as a gift to myself on the move. I'll do the trip to Portugal with her. And I met the fucking Russian. That's impossible. The exact thing I asked for. So I know you can't explain that. I can't teach that. I can't give that to other people. Maybe that's just something I've got going on. I'm milking it for everything it's worth.
So now you need to wish for a woman with $1 million to give you.
Yeah, actually, that's what I said. I said if I do have a wife, I want it to be richer than me, so that it's reverse hypergamy, right? I want her family to be rich. I want her to be kind of useless, but I want me and the family to get along great on the business side, so that I know they're going to take care of her and us. And if it did ever divorce, she's got more money than me, so I get the alimony, right? I get the alimony.
Devious.
Yeah, I'm really thinking this shit through.
Jeez.
Oh man. Yeah, Brian brought up a good conversation. I don't know if you want to get into it.
What?
The Islam is right about women from 4chan.
Oh my god.
Did you see this?
All the article headlines are like, it is bringing about anger and confusion. It's like, confusion? What is so confusing? Because basically I saw like the NPC meme. It was
woman good, Islam good, woman
good, Islam good, women good, Islam good. And then it's like, Islam's right about women. Just mind blown, like, what?
That is some 4D high IQ trolling. That was, when I saw that, I almost fell off my chair. I was like, this is fucking brilliant. And I mean, for people who don't know, I don't know if you've read the Quran. I have. I don't know if you haven't.
No, I remember I actually promised a Muslim that I was going to read it someday.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a man of your word. That's dishonorable. You're off the show.
I mean, I know I just the other day I was trying to look into what is a Quranic abrogation.
Uh-huh.
You know what that is, right?
No, it's the tenets of Islam, isn't it?
No. So Quranic abrogation is a theology that's adopted by most Islamic scholars, they're theologians and such, that basically tries to explain basically the glaring just mountain of contradictions in the Quran. So people always talk about like the Muhammad and his earlier teachings are of like peace and love and harmony and all this stuff, and then the later on Muhammad, that's basically like warring, concubines, pillaging, and all this. How to reconcile those?
Right.
So they've basically explained it. What they call is Quranic abrogation, meaning whatever in terms of chronological order, what comes after abrogates what came before.
Right. Okay, I understand.
So so peace-loving Muhammad of his younger years is not accepted.
It's not the full revelation kind of thing.
The revelation that came after abrogates the revelation from before, which completely explains present day Islam.
Yeah, it probably would.
Because they go, oh, the peace and loving, Muhammad and stuff. It's like, yeah, but that the guy is, by their own interpretation, like the common, accepted interpretation of Islam, peace loving Muhammad doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to get demonetized on this one, but
but this is an actual thing. Like I because I was like, I've never, I just typed in, I was trying to find it, and then I had to like go watch a Milo Yiannopoulos video where he says the term. Like, that's the term. So I go and I Google Quranic abrogation, and then it's this whole thing about how like, oh, on this. Well, it was literally like, the scripture. So, however they line up their scriptures, it was like, 105 verse 5 abrogated by 105 verse 6.
Right.
Like right after, it's just done. It's like, yeah, it's like if, and this is not an actual quote, but it'd be like, yeah, we love the Jews, but God hates them. Like the verse after.
Right.
It's just like, so God hates them is the actual verse that's taken.
Well, that's usually how the word "but" tends to work anyway. Whatever comes after is really what you're trying to say.
right. I'm just saying is that's kind of how it is the scriptures are like lined up right next to each other that are showing this is it.
Yeah. Christians we have covenant theology, which is kind of like that as well.
But covenant theology is like clearly explained within it. Quranic abrogation had to be invented to clear it up.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I would make that distinction as well. But
like we were like, hey, there's actually two covenants because the Bible actually says so. They're like, hey, there's like two different theologies, but
the latter is the better one.
Yeah, the latter is the one that makes sense because obviously, like understanding, by reasoning, it's like, oh, like I guess when he's older, he probably had more revelation, and I don't know, that's what makes more sense. Did Muhammad just get like a bad dose of the red pill and just go off the edge with marrying child brides and raping women and pillaging?
It's a rough thing, man. It's yeah. I mean, Muhammad's life is tough.
I've heard red pill try to like talk about the Bible versus the Quran, and it's like, really? Well. Obviously, so we all know that Rollo Tomasi's book coming out is going to be just called like The Rational Male Religion.
Yeah.
And he's going to talk about Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Islam regarding the red pill. And I'm like, that's just a mess, I think, to like try to work through, because it's like, you have red pill in the New Covenant.
I agree.
But I see the red pill also really try to like hold on to like old covenant red pill. It's like, no.
Yeah. I mean, for you and myself, who have probably closer in line with like an Eastern Orthodox understanding of Scripture, the book is not going to be very useful because he's really trying to tackle Western evangelicalism and Protestantism and all that, and a lot of those verses. It's taken from a literalist perspective. They're gonna, whatever they're gonna try and interpret it literally, which is basically the big problem.
I mean,
dissidents.
Guys in the red pill will talk about jerking off when the Bible obviously shows a case where God killed a man for jerking off.
Well, it wasn't. No, he didn't jerk off.
I know he didn't. Yeah. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He didn't. He spread his seed under the ground, basically.
Yeah, so he didn't raise kids to his brother. So his brother died. by law, he's supposed to raise kids for his brother to have the inheritance of the land. He didn't want to do that. So he spilled the seed on the ground and God struck him dead because he's breaking the law. Right. And he didn't want, he wanted his kids to inherit. He didn't want this other man's, this other woman's kids for his brother to inherit, from the stuff. So,
but I've heard that getting used to like, oh, if you just jerk off, you're going to get
exactly. That is now, without the understanding, the context is now, oh, jerking off, God's going to strike you dead. Like the population would be gone if that was actually true, right?
Freaking men and women get struck down.
There wouldn't be anybody above the age of 9 on the planet,
You saw the movie Shazam, right?
Yes, I did see Shazam.
Just be like Shazam, just everyone gets struck down.
Everyone gets big. But yeah, like I was concerned. I mean, I'll buy the book when it comes out. I think he's in danger of, the guy that you and I used to work for. I don't know if you've seen a lot of his posts recently, but he put out a post recently, kind of saying there's a lot of confusion in the Christian realm, and he wants to follow up with all his students and kind of course correct them on all their theology and all this different kind of stuff, right? And I'm a little concerned. I mean, that's the heights of hubris to think that you're going to resolve all of the doctrinal issues of the church has had for 2,000 years. You have all the right answers, and you're going to correct everyone else. Good luck with that.
What's the theology he's trying to correct?
Well, it's all the healing stuff. It's not to get too much into it. He's still of the dualist perspective that the flesh is evil, and you need to discipline the flesh. So starve the flesh, feed the spirit, kind of thinking. And ironically, everybody who used to work with him, even a couple of people who worked with him after we left, have all moved on from that theology and realized, no, that's dualism. That's actually part of the Gnostic heresy. He's the only one who's kind of still stuck in it, and now he's enforcing it upon the students.
Oh, jeez.
That aside, back to Rollo Tomasi's book. I'm concerned. He's not an expert on Islam. He's not an expert on Hinduism. He's not an expert on Christianity. There are so many sects and subsects and so many different interpretations. I think
church history, religious histories.
Not to mention the church histories, the commentaries. There's so much for every world religion.
We don't even get it.
Yeah, I straight up admit that I don't have it all figured out. I have conviction for why I believe what I believe, but I could be fucking wrong. I completely accept that.
I remember when I really started getting into some of this, just I had the bad habit. I didn't really look into a lot on my own, but when I would hear what you guys would find, so like from our group that we were with, I just hear all you guys talking about, like, did you know that this church did that? Did you know that, in your church history, this was the case and that was the case? And I'm sitting here, I'm just like, was there anything consistent about like Christianity? It depends on how you look at it. Do you have your theology surrounding King James being the true Bible translation? You have, you had the Wuest Bible that we were looking into. You had the first 300 years of the church. You had the council that decided on how the Bible was going to be made. You have the Ethiopian Bible that has all the books in it. You have Bibles with freaking no books in it. Then you have people we talked to with who read the different books, like the Book of Enoch. There was a book of Ganesh.
All the books of wisdom, all the apocryphal books and stuff like that.
The Gnostic Gospels.
The Gnostic Gospels is something different, but
all these books, and then you had all these different theologians of the early church before Constantine was a Christian, and all this stuff, and it's just like nothing makes sense. I mean, there is obviously a line that kind of runs through all of it.
A common thread,
but
ironically, that's the only thread that matters. Everything else is bullshit.
But it's there's validity along those little strands that kind of go off on their own. But goddamn, because when I talk to people about it, even especially like atheists, they get really interested when they find out, oh wait, you're not just some the Bible. I'm like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff you don't know, and I'm not, and I try to explain, like, I'm not trying to defend Christianity,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to like help people understand that like Christianity is a whole big mess that no one really understands.
Yeah.
So
It's
to
huge.
say, like, to sort of condemn the whole thing as like one big scam, which
Yeah.
for the most part it is, you get those little pockets where it's like of people trying to like stay away from that. Like it was
Sure.
meant to be a lifestyle. It was a good idea for people to like basically build community around.
No,
I'd
I
say.
agree. I agree. And I mean, the theology supports that it's a relationship with the creator and his creation. That's kind of the thread. Ironically, it's the same thread you see in most other religions as well. It's kind of like you want to build a relationship with, your creator, and you want to understand his creation. That's kind of it. That's really the only two questions of Christianity. Everything else is kind of noise. And everything else really doesn't matter. Which is why in Christian tradition, you become a Christian at your confession of faith or your baptism or whatever. You can have no theology. You can have nothing right. You might know nothing. You could be like one of these drunks off the street that comes in. Here's a preacher, don't fully understand it, but just feel compelled. You come forward, you say your prayer. Now you're a Christian. You know nothing. Which is why the only thing that matters is that thread of Christ. Christ is the ultimate expression of all Christianity. And depending on how you interpret his life, death, burial, and resurrection determines everything else. And nobody fucking agrees, right? Nobody agrees on every aspect of those tenets.
Every time I hear the number of denominations, it just gets
Yeah.
bigger.
Yeah, I mean
It was
now
30,000 at one point. Now it's like 40-some thousand.
44,000. Yeah. And then you have non-denominational churches. It's like, Jesus Christ, even that's a denomination now.
And then they're making, their little threads of, yeah.
It's a mess. And that's why it says we unite around the person of Christ. We do not unite around theology. We do not unite around doctrine. And, speaking again about the guy that you and I used to work with and this whole friendship by doctrine thing, he recently let go another one of his friends who was there after we left. Because, the guy has moved on from a lot of his teachings and has kind of discovered a lot of stuff on his own. And he's kind of, like, oh my God, I've lost this, friend. I treated him like a brother and this, that, and the other, and whatever. And I'm kind of looking at it like, this seems to be happening to you a lot. Do you realize that you have this friendship by doctrine thing?
This has been a while. Because
I know.
We split off from him in like 2015.
In 15, right? So it's 4 years later. So this is somebody who was with him probably for 2 years after we left. And he's kind of come out and done the same thing again. So I'm actually very concerned for him because the hubris of trying to fix everybody's doctrine and the perpetration of friendship by doctrine, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well. And that's the whole thing. The whole thing about Christ is acceptance of people where they're at. His whole ministry was to a completely different religion, which was Jews, right? And if you can't understand that, his whole preaching ministry was to a completely different group of people. So it shows that the religion really doesn't matter. Your doctrine really doesn't matter. Doctrine is good for the earth to help you with whatever your tenets of faith are. But, you don't need it. You could have it all wrong and still be right.
Yeah, even just explaining like the early church to some people, it's like it was just a group of people that followed some dude, regardless if you think he existed or not. Let's just say, I even try to go as far like take away all the miracles, just look at the teachings of the guy. So they follow this guy around. He leaves, however he did. And a bunch of people decide, let's just, let's hang out, like talk about this guy. Let's tell other people about it because he's cool. He's got all this, great ways that he taught about, how to live your life and how to like go about, taking care of people, whatever. And then that was supposed to just stay there. They talked about more and more people and, kind of joining into it and talking about what this guy did and what he was about. And then next thing, some government official gets sick, becomes a Christian and, there goes everything. Some people wrote about him, so they made a whole book about all the things he did, and it just got worse from there on out. Like the effort to create the Bible and make it a state sponsored religion, I think was the two big problems, I'd say.
I would agree. Yeah, compiling the Bible. It's a double-edged sword. I think it was necessary. It also created a whole bunch of problems because it put all the power to those who could interpret it, right? Which get,
which then led to another 1,000 years of problems,
which we call the Dark Ages.
A guy decided, hey, I'm going to translate this into German.
Into German, right? So that's Martin Luther for our listeners. So yeah, I agree. At the same time, I think God can use anything. I think, like a lot of people point to colonialism, for instance, the British Empire, which was the largest empire on the earth. And what happened as a result of colonialism was the spreading of the Church of England and the spreading of the King James Bible, right? So yes, I'm not saying colonialism was necessarily a good thing. I'm just saying God could use anything. And he used something like colonialism. He used the Roman Empire. He'll use even bad preachers. He uses people who have totally fucked up theology and they still manage to do great things.
Yeah, you still manage to get like someone that's inspired by some message that just so happened to be just good enough to inspire someone to do something good.
Yeah. God could use anything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's all good. It's not an endorsement that these things are good or like God's design. I do believe men have influence on the earth. We have dominion on the earth. So it really comes down to our choices and other things. But yeah,
people are shit.
Yeah, people are pretty shit. But God could use shit to do amazing things.
Yeah. God created America.
Manifest destiny, man. I mean, don't knock it, bro. Created one of the greatest countries in the world. So far he was right. The founding fathers are right.
Yeah, but now we're really fucked.
We'll see what happens with China.
Yeah. Well, now that we're kind of coming up on our time here.
Almost on time.
A little bit. Anything you wanted to touch on real quick?
I mean, I think those are the big things. There's not much news going on. I mean, our prime minister in the UK is off talking to the peoples in Brussels.
Trudeau blackface.
Trudeau blackface. Oh my God. That's the left eating their own sort of thing.
It's funny how they got all these rules about racism and then one of their own does it and nope. Totally really? Okay. I mean, it's not as it's not as heavy.
Really?
From what I see, it's just they don't hit the left as hard when leftists are caught doing it.
Yeah, well, that's always been the case.
Kavanaugh gets. Oh, and then oh my God, did you hear the thing what Ben Shapiro said about Kavanaugh's penis?
No, I didn't.
So there's a soundbite for you. Did you hear what Shapiro said about Kavanaugh? So there was this clip in the Daily Wire, on the Ben Shapiro show that he did, and it was basically Shapiro's like talking about like he's like every time the left has someone caught in some scandal, they're always talking about you had what's her name, the porn star that was going against Trump,
Stormy Daniels.
Yeah, the whole Stormy Daniels talking about his dick. Talking about Trump's dick. You had the whole thing about the like details, the gross details of what Bill Clinton did every time that you get all these like these details of like, and it's always like praised almost. Stormy Daniels talks about like Trump's dick and everyone's like, oh. But so basically he was trying to make the point like when the left is doing something and it really happened, there's all this like gruesome detail of like what the dick looked like, what happened, what where did the cum go on the wall or whatever. It's just all this stuff, and no one really cares as much. Like they'll like this is because they'll do that. But then he says, but then when you hear about Kavanaugh, there's no like details. There's there's a couple of things that get thrown in there, but there's no like no one's talking about his dick. So then someone took that out of context and made it about like, oh, the reason Kavanaugh's innocent because no one talked about his dick. When 2 seconds later in that same clip, he starts to go on, he goes, because there's, again, this has totally been dismissed because no corroborating evidence. All the witnesses said he wasn't there. All this and that. There's no actual credible thing. So I just retweeted the video, and I'm like, it's funny how everyone's talking about Ben Shapiro talking about the dick instead of realizing that he was actually using that as a sort of to jump off into, there is no proof.
Exactly.
Like, unfortunately, when it's credible and it's really happened, people will go into gruesome detail. No one cares. But then when you make that connection to say, well, then when this guy didn't have any details, and really there really shouldn't be because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Now it's, that somehow is more credible and more despicable and more evil and whatever. And it's like, what? I mean, there was this whole thing, like someone basically came forward and said one of Kavanaugh's friends like took his dick and thrust it into someone else's face.
Yeah. Well, he pulled his pants down and somebody kind of shoved him and it ended up in somebody's face kind of thing.
Something
which
like
makes
that.
him the victim, right? Which makes him the victim of assault.
Yeah, and then Shapiro was like, well, but how come no one described that dick if it really did happen? Like,
yeah.
Then everyone's like, all these feminists are screeching away, like, feminists is, Shapiro's talking about Kavanaugh's dick and says that's important. It's like, you're missing the point.
Yeah, well, what else is new?
Like, I've caught on to this, and this tends to be a communication style, is getting more caught up in other things that are said versus the important things that are said.
Correct.
The whole, so
missing the forest for the trees.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's so it's more and more glaringly obvious every time it happens.
Of course.
It's like, maybe it's like, so people sit there and they'll hear some statement someone makes, and it's like, maybe it's like a whole, multiple page like speech that they're giving, and they'll focus on like, little things they said here and there. Now it's just like one sentence or two sentences, and they'll pick the sentence that totally was not supposed to be taken as clear opinion of this person, and then miss the other sentence that was actually
the context,
the actual context.
The point.
It's like, what?
I mean, they do this with Trump all the time, right? I remember when he was out in Japan, he was feeding the koi, and they had the little box of food and they scoop out a little bit, and then at the end, they dump the box, whatever's left in the box, they kind of dump it into the pond. So Trump and Abe, I think is his name, is the Prime Minister of Japan. They did the exact same thing, and Trump was following Abe's lead. And at the end, Abe dumped his stuff in, and then Trump dumped his. And the media picture is just of Trump dumping the full box into the water. Like, oh, look at this buffoon. He's just like, dumping. But if you watch the whole clip, no, they did exactly the same thing. Abe did it first. And it's the same thing that came out more recently where, all the Christians are screeching because there was a comment about Trump made, like, he is the chosen one. And people started making it sound like he's God's chosen and, all this. But again, in the context of it, he was talking about, look, for years, the United States has made bad deals with Europe and trade deals with China and stuff like that. And nobody's decided to clean it up. But he's the chosen one that's actually going to make a difference in these trade deals. Forget the end. Forget everything before. We pull out that clip about I am the chosen one, and they give him a fucking Messiah complex. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, which is why I'm to be fair, I'm not listening to a lot. I'm kind of getting tired of all the talk. I'm kind of zoning out a little bit. I'm just really kind of focusing on me, my stuff, the show.
So selfish.
I know, because at some point it's just too much noise. It's just too much fucking noise. Even my, like, I haven't watched the Ben Shapiro. I haven't watched. I watched the Crowder. CNN is fake news, but all of the political commentary that we used to watch quite regularly, not really interested. I'm more interested, like the Glorious House of Gains. I listen to that because it's fucking entertaining, right? It's like I'm just so over the noise. I must be getting old. Amos, I must be getting fucking old, man.
God damn it.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to find somebody young and vibrant to take my spot.
Yeah.
But there are some still good memes. The Islam is right about women thing, I think, is pretty brilliant. Black Pigeon Speaks did a really good critique on that. Because no matter which way you slice it, if you say it in the way that Islam is right about women in that women's nature needs to be confined and they need to be controlled and all these different types of things, that goes against the left of progressive narrative of inclusion and equality. So you can't win that way. And if you're doing it as a troll, right, suggesting that women have more rights in Islam and all this other kind of stuff, which is, well, not actually the case, but it shows that these people actually don't know what they're talking about. That they're equating Islam and women's rights as being good, but they don't actually, how do you explain all the dictatorships and Saudi Arabia,
and then you put up a poster that says,
reality.
And you put up a poster that says Islam is right about women.
Yeah, that's that's some 4D chess right there. I thought.
And then they go, what?
Yeah, they lose their shit. They lose their shit. So how do you justify? Oh well, Islam is this great feminist religion, but then you look at things like Saudi Arabia and Iran and all these other countries. So you can't win. No matter however you take it, it's not going to work out well.
I mean, there's got to be another group of ideologies you can piece together to say this is right about that.
I'm sure if there is, 4chan is all over it, man. That weaponized autism is in full gear. I gotta admit, they've come out with some absolutely brilliant campaigns.
Fascism is right about capitalism?
That's not something they've done. They did It's Okay to Be White.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Well, they did a lot of the trolling stuff, the OK sign and milk, a couple other things. This one is pretty brilliant. There was another one that they did. I can't remember what it was, but it was another quite clever, quite brilliant 4chan troll. And it's like, anything that's going to get the media screeching, I do enjoy watching. That I have to say that. Are you looking up 4chan trolls?
No. Anyways.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add quick?
No. I think we made it to time very nicely. I think we can bring it in for landing.
Yep.
And then we'll do a quick hot takes.
We did one this week.
Oh, you don't want to do one for this show?
No, we could.
Yeah, well, may as well. Give something to our loving and caring audience.
Yep. Well, thank everyone for joining us, of course. You could definitely check us out on like the video, comment below, subscribe to the channel. Of course, check us out on podcasting platforms such as iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, which is where we host it, our show's hosted, but also any platform that's connected through them. We're definitely there. And of course, follow both of us on Twitter, both of which, of course, for the viewers are in the video. I'm at Amos Joe, and Brook is at Brook_Potter.
No
so
E.
Follow. Huh?
No E at the end of
my Brook, Brook.
Yeah.
No E. _Potter. And of course, we're all of our social media links are of course below as well. And if you do want to, definitely check out our subscribe star, of course. But yeah, thank everyone for joining us. We will of course be back on Thursday. Probably just a regular show, right? Yeah.
I think so. So.
And yeah, so of course, thank everyone for joining us. We'll see you guys on Thursday.
Thanks for watching, everyone.